This is our homily for November 5th, the 31st Sunday in Ordinary Time. There was once a lion who was very proud. He decided to take a walk one day and demonstrate his mastery over all the other creatures. He strutted his way through the forest until he came across a bear. "Who is the king of the jungle, bear?" "Why, of course you are, mighty lion." So the lion went on until he found the tiger. "Who is the king of the jungle, tiger?" "While you are, great lion." Next the lion found the elephant. "Who is the king of the jungle, elephant?" The elephant instantly grabbed the lion with his trunk and spun him around, finally slamming him to the ground. He then stepped on him a few times, picked him up, dunked him in the water, and threw him up against a tree. The lion staggered to his feet and said, "Look, just because you don't know the answer, you don't have to get so upset." Jesus was upset with the religious leaders in our gospel today because they were acting as if they were kings instead of being servant leaders of God's people. Like the lion, they didn't get it. While our readings today deal with religious leaders and what they should and shouldn't do, they apply to all of us for any position of authority we have: parents, older siblings in the home, grandparents, bosses, supervisors in the workplace, certainly political leaders, just to give a few examples. In the first reading, Malachi was chastising the religious leaders after the return from exile. While they were supposed to be leading the people according to the Word of God, they were accepting bribes to allow people to sacrifice blind or lame or otherwise blemished animals instead of perfect ones. In the Gospel, Jesus levies 3 complaints against the religious leader. 1, they weren't practicing what they preached. 2, they overburdened ordinary people. 3, they sought public acknowledgement for spiritual superiority. In other words, they were not helping people find God, but were rather getting in the way because they were primarily concerned about themselves. At the end of the gospel, Jesus gives the clue to being a good leader, and I quote, "The greatest among you must be your servant," end quote. Servant leadership. That is what it is all about, as Pope Francis has been trying to remind priests and bishops, starting with his call to us to smell like the sheep. Paul, in our selection from Thessalonians, gives good guidelines to those in any kind of authority. He says they, 1, should be gentle. 2, should care for people as a nursing mother cares for her child. 3, act with affection. 4, share themselves, not just the gospel. And finally, work so as not to be a burden. Gentle, affectionate, sharing self, not being a burden, caring as would a nursing mother. How wonderful our world would be if every single person in any kind of leadership could grow in these traits. Being a leader in a Christian sense means service, humble service, not status. It is a call to integrity, that is, to give good example that reinforces what is said. So the reflection I invite us to this week: In the various roles of authority I have, parent, grandparent, sibling, mentor, leader in a community or at work, any role, am I a servant leader? Is my primary focus to be of service rather than to get honor or privilege? When people look at me, do they see a servant leader as Jesus was? How can I make sure I'm growing in my ability to be a servant leader to others? God bless.